I certainly don't like it when the camera's not straight. Anyhow, the reason for the video is I wanted to set some things straight because a lot of people, after I went to the Board of County Commission today and spoke up about law enforcement, were a little stunned. And some people were asking me about my domestic conviction, and they were stunned to even know I had one. So I want to set the record straight. So, Sheriff Felder, please pay close attention. I invite the FBI, CBI, NEAI, the Sheriff's Department, or anybody that's a polygraph examiner to give me a polygraph test, because what you're about to hear is gonna make you shit your pants. In 1994, I took a conviction or pled guilty to a domestic situation. That domestic situation had some issues with it based on the fact that the information that is contained in the police report and not contained in the police report is the reason why I have an issue with certain police agencies, specifically female officers, and why I say emotion shouldn't play a part in your job. And it makes it really hard for people to do it. Having had first-hand experience is how I can speak. Now, the experience isn't good, but I got it the hard way, School of Hard Knocks. Sheriff Felder, if you get a chance to listen to this, go ahead and play it for everybody, okay? 1994, I came home from work, and every night I would always show up, and I just bought my new house, and I was working a temporary job for overnight. On May 5th, I went out after work because the strike that involving the other agencies up in Aurora had ended. And when I mean agencies, trucking companies, okay? Which was Yellow, Roadway, and I can't remember the other one. I was working it overnight. I was hired to handle their overages. So on that particular day, during the day, the management came in and said, anybody coming to work tonight is gonna have an option of taking a drug test or going home without taking the drug test, which means quitting. A lot of the staff were doing marijuana and they were dealing it on the dock. I wasn't one of them. I took the test. What happened was several of the guys that were leaving after work, two of the guys were Russian guys, really nice guys, by the way, wanted to go out with us and have a drink. So we went to the local bar that was around the corner over in Commerce City, basically. I think it's Commerce City. That was there, and we were just gonna have a few drinks and go home. So I bought a few pictures, the other guys bought a few pictures, and we all played shuffleboard. Things got a little late. At the end of the night, we all decided to leave. Unfortunately, three fun-loving country boys decided they didn't want the party to end, and they were being a little bit more belligerent than normal. I was assigned to take one of the other guys home because he didn't have a car. So I was gonna drive him back to his house in Aurora, in my car. Well, one of those fun-loving, freedom-seeking country boys decided to kick my boss's car. His name was Virgil. That didn't go over well with me because I was a little bit of a different Ron back then. The fight was over pretty quick, along with the fight with the two other gentlemen that were there, and I got in my car and left. I don't know how they got out of there, but I do know that while we were leaving, the cops were coming. So, needless to say, there's no record of that, okay? Not gonna tell you what happened, it's not relevant, okay? On my way home, the booze really kicked in. It was warm in the car. I don't really remember how I got from here to here, or remember the trip from his house to my home. I do know that following day, when I saw my car up on the grass and not the driveway, figured I didn't really do such a good job parking. Let's get back to getting home. A lot of you are aware that in 2009, under oath, I was asked a few questions about this particular situation, okay? One, okay, when I got home, I had had an affair. She found out about it, okay? She was up visiting. I had left a message on the phone that I was coming home. Real quick, that's what all guys do, right? Hopefully she would hear the voice message, or back then it was an answering machine, really cute one, and that I would be on my way. She heard the message, called the bar because of the caller ID, and a woman answered. Well, you know how that went. The lady hung up because she couldn't hear. All she heard was loud noises, but didn't know where I was. My girlfriend at the time was not one of those women that had a very mild-mannered way about her. Knowing that she had just discovered that I did have an affair at that time, okay, which is what started the fight when I got home. Needless to say, some things were thrown, the argument got out of hand, and I wasn't going to let her leave because she had had a few to drink. I took the keys and the purse away from her. Big mistake. I said, you're not going to get in that car. The last time we had an argument, you smashed your car. And your mother made me promise to never let you get behind the wheel when you were in that state, because in previous events, you had shown not such good judgment. So, wanting to make sure she didn't get hurt or drive home in that state, I took her keys and her purse. That will never happen again. Okay? So, without further ado, here's what happened. Officers show up. She didn't call. That neighbor did. You know, the angry one that had the cheating girlfriend. Apparently, the cops talked to him and them and then came over to us. I let them in. One of them, and I won't use their names, it's not fair, was a male, the other one a female. Well, I like to call her Captain Fantastic. The other guy, after we told him what happened, wasn't going to arrest me because I explained what happened. Unfortunately, the over-enthusiastic female officer, who apparently was trying to make a name for herself, got the signature she wanted, but it's how she got it. So now let me tell you a little bit more about my girlfriend, who was from the Philippines on a registered alien card and didn't live with me. No, she didn't. She was up visiting. She lived in the Springs with her dad and worked on Peterson. I left the front door open. Why is that relevant? Well, you know that if you take an ID from somebody, it has their address on it. And, well, that information didn't jive with where those police officers were responding to. Female officer asked the male officer to take me outside. Go ahead, we have a signature, take them in. Well, how'd you get that signature? Well, come to find out after the fact, after the trial, which never took place, oh, that's right, it was a plea deal. The officer got the information by basically scaring the alleged victim. How did she do that? Well, basically after we got done discussing what had happened, they were going to charge her with going after me and throwing things at me because the stuff was already on the floor. Yeah, a little tidbit, not in the police report. Okay? 2, I did take her purse and her keys away. You can't do that. And you can't grab their arm. You're not allowed to. That's why there's nothing in the police report talking about marks, bruises, cuts, scrapes, anything. Because it wasn't. What you have is a woman that's upset that she just found out her boyfriend had cheated on her and she was not in the mood. So, now, how did she get her to sign? Well, because of the story I told, the deputy basically the officer gave her an ultimatum. Here was the ultimatum. You either sign this complaint against him or I'm going to arrest you for throwing stuff at him. Well, because my girlfriend was from the Philippines and didn't know the system, she didn't know that she didn't have to sign anything. But being in fear of the fact that she could be arrested and deported, now you know. Yeah. That's how they got the signature. That's how a police officer, who's no longer a police officer for the Aurora Police Department, got the arrest. So, now you know why I'm an advocate for certain things and why I say the things I say. I tried to withdraw my plea. They lost the transcripts, they lost the tapes, and I lost my rights. Okay? And then, what made it even worse is on that particular morning, okay, the alleged victim, who I drove to court, went up and had a meeting with Tessa and filled out a victim card and wrote down exactly what she told them happened, and they told her, oh, okay, we can take care of this, don't worry about it. You ever wonder what happened to that card? Because I do. It disappeared. And apparently the victim advocate sitting in the courtroom that day, who she gave the card to after they went upstairs, never gave it to the DA. That's it. I wasn't afforded an attorney. I didn't qualify for a public defender. And I ended up taking a plea because I was told it was no big deal by Heidi Bauer. I was also told that my charges were more heinous than what they were because I didn't know what had actually happened. So imagine my surprise when I walked out of the courtroom and I saw the victim, as you now, not alleged, it's now technically a victim, without a scratch on her. And I asked her, I said, wait a minute. Because remember, I took her to court. according to their police report, I beat the crap out of her, held her against her will, and kidnapped her. And I thought to myself, wow. So when I walked out and I looked at her, I was stunned. Subsequently, I tried to withdraw my plea. Okay? And because of the argument and fight I was having with my next door neighbor over what had transpired, I missed a couple court dates, and then they couldn't find the information, nor the transcripts I ordered, or the tape recording of the hearing, so that all went up in smoke. That was Judge Fisher, by the way. So now you know why when someone asks me about law enforcement, you need to understand the truth. And why does that bother me? Well, because I had put my name in with 3 different states to become a police officer back then, because while I was doing drug interdiction in the Coast Guard, I thought it would be a good career move. You understand that now, Sheriff Elder? Kind of puts things into a little bit more of a perspective, doesn't it? So that's why I say emotion doesn't play a part in the law. And for 25 years, a guy that didn't beat the crap out of anybody has had to live with the stigmatism that comes with a conviction and the loss of my rights. Anybody who wants me to take a lie detector test, just pick the place, date, and the time. Oh, by the way, the courts knew about what happened after the fact, and the gentleman that was the DA up there, which was Mr. Zerk, didn't give 2 shits. Any questions? So before you guys all go thinking I beat the shit out of somebody, it wasn't who you thought I beat the shit out of. That's why I stopped drinking. So when I'm an advocate for others, I'm an advocate because I have a reason and a need to be an advocate. And by the way, the female class for domestic convictions was larger than the male class. There was more women beating the shit out of guys than there were guys beating the crap out of women. That's a fact, okay? Because I was there. So the next time someone wants to look at me and say, hey, he has a previous record for something, maybe you ought to find out what actually happened and what I actually tried to do. And that was before Clinton changed the law that took away gun rights. That's it. So that's why I say if someone says you did something wrong, you fight all the way, because that's all you got. As a result of that stigma, I lost out on a career. I lost out on jobs, income, and everything. I could just imagine, what if I was going to stay in Aurora for a long time, and then I just decided it's time for a fresh start. Now you know. Not everybody beats the shit out of somebody that has a domestic situation. Anybody got any questions? Oh, and one of the reasons why I sought treatment for my disability was because one of the police officers that was involved said, you might want to go see the VA for some help. And that's when my father-in-law got involved, which would be my now girlfriend, now wife, dad. Thanks for stopping by. You ought to get the facts sometime. It's really enlightening.